everyone. Just started a couple minutes early to help people come through and make space for everyone. I'm glad you're here. Feel free to say something in the chat so we make sure it works. Yay! Hi, Lucy. We've been having trouble with the chat for a few times, and I think I figured it out now. Okay. Good. Nice to see you, Jessica. Hi, Elizabeth and Angela and Flower and Uma. I'm so glad you're here. Good. Yay. And you can hear me okay, is that right? Just want to make sure everything's working because I'm using YouTube Live, so I'm hoping it's working properly. Yay, thank you, thank you. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Alicia. Thank you, Lucy. Good, good, okay. All right, let's jump in. All right, so I had promised all of you that I was gonna do a quarterly check-in, and it was gonna be this big deal. And here comes the equinox, and I'm like, I have no idea. I can't do a check-in. And there's a few reasons for that. I think if I'm going to do a check-in like that, that's quarterly, I'm going to have to either integrate it with our monthly calls or do it after the equinox or the solstice instead of like right beforehand, because I can't see clearly when everything's up in the air. And now there's more clarity, but I want to notice just together at the moment this really interesting kind of uneasy energy. It's exacerbated, of course, by the full moon. The sun has been pretty active, but not like super bad. However, here in Ecuador on the equator, when the sun does things, oh boy, it really kicks your butt. So when the sun releases CMEs, it's very strong. And they've just done some studies about how the sun's energy releases actually really affect human behavior. So, you know, we are certainly no island. And if I am able to give you a chance to experience anything in these community calls, it's a sense of being connected to that universal. So we take the personal up to the universal in our special community calls every month. And so I want to tell you what I've been seeing regarding the personal and then give you a big overview of the energies that are moving right now. So what we can also expect, I think, from this, right? And so massive ramping up of energy. Big, huge layouts of long-term plans being put into motion. So what is happening with the personal? Well, the processing has not stopped, of course, especially for me, and I've been digging in a lot deeper into worthlessness than ever before and found something really big. And it's got the weirdest name. I looked it up last night, called cherophobia. And it sounds like fear of Cheerios, but it's not. It means fear of being happy. So a couple of things spurred this on. At one point, I was sitting at a restaurant in the middle of this beautiful woods, the cloud forest, the edge of the Amazon, eating the most beautiful meal with my sweet dear friend, my husband. And suddenly for a moment, I realized that I was really, really happy in that moment. And then came this overwhelming fear of that moment, an overwhelming fear of being happy. And I looked at my husband and I said, I actually really don't know how to be happy. I don't really know. I think I can be happy for like a minute, but then this fear rolls up and it comes and it just destroys it, or it causes a fight or flight response to happiness. What the? And I said, I'm onto something with this because I am really uncomfortable now. And so I was really trying to stay present, noticing these two things, a polarity, right? And all polarities end up in fear and desire. And it's love, that gets us out of any polarity hamster wheel. So I'm trying to notice this. You've got to really welcome the fear and desire that shows up, the desire to be happy and to remain happy, right? The desire to be healed, the desire to be loved, the desire for enlightenment or higher consciousness, or maybe just to be peaceful, right? To be at peace. And usually it's going to be countered by some sort of fear, right? And this was so deep. It was so deep, and I was really struggling to find where it was at in my body. Finally, I found it really here in the upper chest, almost the high heart, like right where the heart and the high heart meet. And it felt like, for me, and we always want to notice these emotions in our body. It's very important, right? To be in the body when we're doing our work. And hey, I'm new at it, so take it from me though, it causes massive amounts of healing if you do your work in your body. Way better healing than I ever did being out of my body, right? So it felt like someone was stabbing me like with a big, huge pike stick or like a spear, right through to the back of my heart, to the very back of my back. So when you're noticing an energy, I'm afraid to be happy, you want to notice it in your body. And then you want to welcome it because it's full of information. It's really dense. That's why it hurts. It's not you. It's density that needs to be seen and needs to be unraveled, right? We got to swim down to the bottom of the stickiness. Trauma is very sticky. Trauma attracts stuff to stick to it, and then it builds this thing in the shape of you called your ego. So getting down to the bottom of it, feeling it in the body. And then I had a conversation with a veteran. And he said to me, for 18 years, it's either been Disneyland or war. And Disneyland was always short little bursts of joy that were usually very intense and very busy because he has a big family. And then he'd go off to war for long periods of time. And he said, it's been Disneyland or war. Sounds like another paradigm here, or another balance of duality, right? Another process, another polarity, Disneyland or war. And so he said, I feel like I don't really know how to be still. I don't know how to be alone. I don't know how to be happy. I don't know how to be at peace, right? And it dawned on me that that was the same for me. This guy volunteered for the military. This was a risk he took that he's trying to heal from. And he's noticing a programming around this, right? Fear of being happy. You know, and it reminds me of a lot of sessions that I've done where it's also been a fear of being able to be at peace, right? Or a fear that the peace is going to go away, or that the happiness is going to be taken away, or that you'll be disappointed. And that's certainly bulked up around this program. And this is exactly what it is. Or here's a good one, the Western cultural programming around, if you are resting, then you are not productive. And that being productive equals success. And therefore, resting is bad. And if you just simply look at the United States and how very little time is afforded for everything from lunch breaks. I mean, look at the news right now with what's happening with Amazon, for example. There's no time for lunch breaks or bathroom breaks or vacation time. In other countries, it's much different. But this is a major program. You're not allowed to rest, otherwise you won't be successful. You won't be happy if you rest. It's related. It's related to this big energy of the fear of happiness. And you know where it comes from. You know what I like to talk about regularly is the human hatred program, right? It's a multidimensional, multifaceted program, and this is one of its facets, the fear of being happy. And so I encourage you to look really deep right now into that feeling. It's not going to necessarily be in the same part of your body as it is in mine, but that feeling of, I don't know how to be happy, I'm afraid. And so I started talking about it kind of with random people I might meet at a restaurant, or various people, my husband. You know, I'm mentioning these things. I'm afraid to be happy. I'm afraid that it won't last, or that I'm not allowed to be happy, or that if I am happy, that somehow I'm ignoring all of this other darkness that needs to be examined. All these different excuses and reasons why I should not be happy, right? And then I realized, wow, this is definitely a facet to this overall very large set of programs that I would call the human hate programming. And it's related to things like, if you go on to different platforms, you might see people say, oh, humans are just awful, we should just be wiped off the face of the planet. Or humans are just totally corrupt and we should give up on the human race. And there's so many pathologies, and that's exactly what it is. These programs are pathological. They cause disease. I can see how my mindset and my life have been diseased by this fear of being happy. And there's no person to blame it on. It's literally cultural. It's built into the systems that are currently really scrambling to maintain control. You know, the matrix is falling apart, and the powers that benefited most from that are going to do everything they can to hold tight. And this is this energy, and we're getting into the universal part of it, right? This energy that's coming up. It's a wave. It wants to overtake consciousness. And it has to do with control from the top down, which is unnatural. It doesn't work. It won't work. And then there's this other wave. And this is the real true consciousness that we want to address this, for instance, the fear of being happy with. We need to notice that these are blocking us, that these are distorted, they're sticky. When someone's afraid of being happy, it simply draws out more trauma and issues from everyone and everything around them. It's distorting the field, right? Deeply distorting. It's very dark. because it's dense. Density, there's nothing wrong with density. Density, if you really look and you go deep into this program, just like any program or any problem or any trauma, it's going to be made of light. So you got to keep that in mind. Hey, this is full of juicy stuff. If I can unwrap this, it's going to explode into power. And if you've done a process fully all the way through to the bottom, you know what I'm talking about. You know how you feel afterwards. An explosive amount of power is available in that. That's why we do this work. Because that power ends up becoming pure light, and pure light wants to connect to pure light. And that's the end goal for this wave of consciousness. This wave of consciousness, it's a race at the moment for it to take over, and it's going to be a bottom-up expression from you. From you saying, I am a creator being. I have full 100% power over my embodiment and my DNA. I can heal my trauma. I can heal my lineage. I can help rebuild this planet even if I'm sick in bed, even if I can't move or talk. I can still serve the greater consciousness of the souls that are here. That when I put my attention on something, it's very powerful. I can dissolve or grow any energy with my attention. That's being a creator being, right? And so we want to use this same power to address any facet of the human hate program. Perhaps right now it's going to be our fear of being happy, our fear that we might do something amazing and that it might get hijacked again, because that's exactly what happened, right? This is a deep human fear, of course, because guess what happened? At the very beginning of our experiment in consciousness, the Homo sapien experiment that just ended in December of 2020, that whole amazing, brilliant, beautiful creation of an experiment got hijacked, not just by one being or set of beings, but by a whole lot over time from many dimensions. No wonder we're afraid of being happy. So this is deep, deep trauma. It's extremely sticky. It's like swimming through black tar. It's pretty miserable. It physically hurts. But if you keep putting your attention on it and notice it in the body and welcome it again and again and again, the layers open up to show finally a linchpin that can be pulled. And it can come in many different forms, that linchpin. A part of your life where you finally remember a traumatized version of you that learned about not being happy, maybe from mom, maybe from dad, maybe from your siblings. Or maybe some experiences that you had where you were so deeply disappointed. You were so excited about something. You had all these expectations for happiness, and then the rug got pulled out from under you. And it created a deeply painful trauma that distrusts happiness. And anyone who might come and offer happiness to you, ooh. No wonder we don't trust each other. So this is something up in consciousness, because if it's happening to one person, it's happening to a bunch. And that's why I know that if I'm finding something in me, it's definitely up for others. It's not ever something I ever assume I'm experiencing alone anymore. And that's a big mindset shift. And that's why we do these at the end of the month community calls. Because it's our chance to connect, to say, yes, oh boy, I'm feeling that too. Wow, okay. Okay, we can do this together. I want to address also, let's go into the waves that are happening here. The top-down energetic. It's very, very clear. So what do we do with that? If there's things that are clearly going on, let's name some ones that are really obvious. The creation of a brand new internet that is global, right? A physical internet in the form of satellites that is entirely global. That you could be on the top of Mount Everest and get a cell phone connection for real, right? That is something that is mimicking something that's already there. Let's name a second one, genetic modification of humanity. And you could look at that from any angle, everything from eating GMO food to whatever, it doesn't matter. Genetic modification. I mean, they literally created technology for genetic modification long ago, and they've been using it all over the world with not very good results, by the way. So let's just take those two things, right? And I encourage you, look at the top-down energetic that's happening and just very neutrally, I know it's hard, try to stay neutral. Very neutrally start listing out the things you see. What's the agenda? Right? And they'll say things like, well, we need all of you in a database so we can track you. So you might put that on the list. This other wave, this wave, why is this so ramped up? Why is this like suddenly seeming like it's like really happening way faster than normal? Because of this wave. This is the one that they want to make sure to shut down, right? So what's this one? All right, let's take our two things. The global internet and genetic modification of humans. What is the global internet trying to mimic or take over? The real internet, the field, the source field that you and I are connected to, literally, psychically, we're connected, each of you, everywhere, all over the world. How do I know? I'm a professional psychic. With a simple question, if you ask me in session to look at you, all I have to do is say, allow me to see this person, and bam, I can see. And so can you. Right? When given permission, if you really want to see many, many details about this world, anywhere in the entire planet and beyond, is not on just one planet. This field is the universe. There is no corner of this universe that you don't have access to, because the real internet has already existed through eons since the beginning. And this internet, oh boy, what does it do? It creates both a sense of oneness and a sense of sovereignty, where you're not separate and you're not fully merged with all of consciousness, but there is a sense of beingness, that you are part of a greater facet of consciousness, the web of life, Indra's net, and that your part in that net is as important as any other part. If you take your consciousness out of it, there's a hole. There's a hole in the transmitted electromagnetic, measurable, and spiritual connection. Right? So when someone suddenly drops out of your life, what do people say? I feel this hole in me. And it's not just in you, it's in the whole field of consciousness, right? So we know that this is a measurable, actual thing. Let me give you a quick example. I've used this example before, but it's really important because it's been well documented by the CIA and other groups. During the time of Nikola Tesla, the CIA had eyeballs on 45 people all over the world who were inventing the exact same things at the exact same time, and none of them had contact with each other. They were interested in the mechanics of this, and they came up with all sorts of names for it, but simply, it's the ability of human consciousness to be intimately connected all over the world, both subconsciously, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And Nikola Tesla was one of the people that they were looking at. He was doing some work similar to all these other people. None of them knew each other, but they'd all had dreams, visions, ideas come up about the same things at the same time. And through history, including World War II, there's been examples of this that are very measurable and are well documented. So what I'm talking about, I call it the real internet, the natural internet, the natural Indra's net. This is so powerful. And you know what's so crazy? You don't need a cell phone tower or a satellite. What do you need to connect to it? Your body. And that leads us to how important your body really is. Your body is literally a multi-dimensional technology. DNA is a technology. In fact, we're currently discovering we can use DNA to build nanotech at a polymer nanotech at a nano level using DNA. DNA is a polymer. That's how cool and amazing this tech is. And it's got built-in intelligence that we're really only just now tapping into. We really don't understand the human body very well. And that's why the idea that a one-size-fits-all, top-down approach to everything from health to economics to language is not going to work, and it is totally unnatural. It always, culture always, reality always is from the bottom up, from source up. So that's really key. Your body is the transmitter of the real internet. It creates an electromagnetic field that is informed by all of the electromagnetic fields of every object around you, of your cup of coffee. This has an electromagnetic field. It can be read. There's a type of psychic ability, for example, and all of you are psychic. All of you are psychic. It's a natural human capability. This cup has information in its electromagnetic field just like your body does. And there's a psychic capability of being able to touch objects and see where they came from and who touched them. So that's just a really good example that nothing is static. It's always emanating information. You don't need RFID chips. It's already built into the atomic electromagnetic field. And furthermore, if you go up to greater scales, the whole planet is talking to you right now. Feel her. Feel her. Feel the moon. The moon is pulling on us big time right now. Big full moon. Feel that sun. This is your divine birthright to tap into this field of consciousness. This is the real field. The earth is intimately connected to the sun and the moon. It is not an island. It is an electromagnetic plasma-based universe. And most of cosmology is wrong. There is no dark matter. The physics are wrong. They're not taking into account some of the most important aspects of our reality, including that consistent interconnectedness all the way out to the very ends of this universe. How do you suppose people are able to theoretically imagine the shape of and the function of the universe, or the shape and function of an atom, and then go and look for evidence of that information? Because imagination is not fake. Einstein only got to general relativity with his imagination, and he said so, because it's a psychic ability. That's exactly what it is. Imagination and the ability for us to envision what's possible is that. It is psychic ability. It is your ability to tap into the field. Maybe you don't like the word psychic. Some people really don't. Don't worry about that. Find a different word. Find something stronger than intuitive, though, because intuitive is not strong enough for what this ability is. For humans to be able to connect to anything simply through the imagination. And to see what's real. So then we have, of course, genetic modification. Now, again, this has been a top-down thing. Oh, we're going to modify your genes even though we don't know what's going to happen. It hasn't gone well. Look that up for yourself. Look at what happened with the people that they used CRISPR on. It hasn't gone well because we don't understand what we're modifying. Because guess what? It doesn't need to be modified. Why? Because this wave shows us that you modify your own DNA. You are the creator being who can change your own DNA. You are the creator being who can look at whatever stuff is going on in your body and trace it deep down into the DNA. Notice it, simplify it, illuminate it. Be willing to look at it and put that very precious attention of your soul on it. So, for example, we'll come back down to the personal again, right? We don't need top-down GMO. We need bottom-up, creator being, sovereign empowerment to make changes in ourselves for the whole. We never make a change inside of ourselves without knowing it's going to affect the whole. It's very important in consciousness to know that every change you make ripples out through the whole net. You are not an island. Electromagnetically, you're not. In every way possible, you're not. Even if it feels like it. It feels like it because of the trauma buildup in that DNA. So if we take this whole facet of the human hate program, the fear of being happy, right? When we go deep into it, you're going to find, whoa, this is trauma, and it's from all the humans that came before me, not just me. And if we can find it in our body and we notice it and we welcome it and we say, wow, I really am willing to fully feel this and experience it and not turn away from it. And to allow myself to be afraid of being happy right now. And then it burns every time. When you're willing to go into something that difficult, it burns. That is you changing your DNA. The burning is the clearing of trauma out of your DNA. Your soul's consciousness can modify DNA. It can heal you. It can transform you. You need to be very specific about what you look at. So you can't have 20 things all at once. I tried that. It doesn't work. It's too much. The body can't handle it. It backs up on its programming. You got to simplify. And then be willing to allow the layers to be illuminated. It's like a pearl. One layer. Pearls are literally made of trauma, made from trauma. Now, it's not like a big, huge, holy cow trauma. It's a grain of sand that's been irritating a little oyster or clam, right? It's irritating, but it's irritating enough that it builds layers and layers and layers around it, right? That's us. And then we have this pearl. And for us, our pearls of trauma tend to have quite the personality, and they have a lot to say, and we call that ego. All ego is layers of trauma. So as you burn away one layer, there'll be another one revealed, but the burning away releases energy. It releases heat. It releases power. It releases light. That's why it burns. So when I said I could feel the energy of, I'm afraid of being happy right here in my body, I noticed it and I welcomed it. And it, even now, as we're talking about it, I'm feeling more layers burn. I'm feeling myself burning. But I know from mysticism that this is key. We want this. This is good. This is the dissolving of density and turning it right back into power and light. And eventually you get down to the linchpin of it. And you might experience it as this, a sense of total overwhelm and unease. That's definitely what I'm feeling today, overwhelm and unease. Especially about this, because I'm in the process still. I'm not finished. But we're still in March, and March is all about change, right? So still have a couple more days to get to the bottom of it, and I'm close. I'm close. I can feel it. I feel the layers of it wanting to crush me so that I'll give up, right? I'll give up on it. But no, I know what to do with this. I've been trained well. This is when you can't give up, when you're most afraid. And seriously, guys, I'm super afraid. I'm terrified. I'm totally terrified of my fear of being happy. I'm afraid that I will not be able to be happy ever. And it's finally to the point where I've got down to the bottom of it and I've hit that linchpin and I'm aware of it. So I didn't sleep a wink last night. I didn't sleep at all. My body's been in pain for 2 days. My stomach has been cramping up. No one else, so I know it's emotional. I had horrible nightmares last night. This is how I know I'm almost there. So instead of getting depressed about it, I'm excited. And I reached out to some of my friends and I said, I want to talk. I want to connect, because if I can connect about this and just express myself out loud, then it will help me unravel it. And they might be able to see more about it than I can. Because when you're in something, it's really hard to see yourself. It's the hardest thing to see is yourself. It's really easy to see everybody out there in the Indra's net, but to try to put that attention on you is quite hard. Doesn't matter how great of a seer or psychic you are. So we can reach out to each other, right? Sometimes people just write me an email knowing that I'll read it, because I do. I read every single one of your emails. Do I answer you very quickly? No. I don't answer quickly because I get so many emails every day. But I read them. And sometimes that's all that people need, is somebody who they know gets it, writes them, and you can write them, and then you feel heard. Even if they can't respond for days or even sometimes over a week. I always do respond in some way, shape, or form. But that's like a good clue, that when we connect, what does it do? It allows the net to carry you instead of you thinking that you have to carry you the whole way all by yourself. You're not an island. The net can carry you. The field, that's what it's there for. And you have 100% ability to modify your own DNA for your own benefit and the benefit of consciousness. And we always do these things when we're working diligently to be one with Source. We do it for all. We do it for consciousness. Being in service to self or service to self at the expense of others always ends up that you'll end up feeling isolated in the end. So even when you have a problem and you say, I need somebody to just hear me. That's why we do these calls. I need somebody to just hear me. I need somebody to get me. I don't need them to necessarily fix it. I'm working on it, but I just need to talk about it, right? That's the same energetic of saying,